Not a YouTuber, just like making videos. In this video here, I'm going to talk about the whole situation with Destination Steakhouse or Smokehouse, Keith Lee, and Mr. Walter. Now, I admit, I'm just now finding out about these videos and this saga. But as most these videos are like, Keith Lee exposed Destination Smokehouse or something like that, that Mr. Walter, the guy who's been like shuffling his feet, you know, because of how tender meat just falling off the bone, is not the owner, and that Keith Lee exposed it or somehow. And I'm watching a bunch of videos, you know what I'm saying, with Mr. Walter in it for my research. And if you watch some videos, you realize that Mr. Walter is not the owner. He never said he's the owner. Matter of fact, the older videos, Mr. Walter's wearing regular street clothes, and then he's picking up and sees Tinder and he's reacting, and he says, "Nick, you did it again." You know, that's the thing, Nick. So we assumed he's definitely selling the place. But if you watch some videos, and there's one video where the owner said that he worked with Walter for 4 years and made Walter a partner. So I'm like, these guys are trying to sell. They're trying to sell barbecue. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, you know, just like any other corporation trying to sell a product, there's going to be some smoke and mirrors. They're going to, you know what I'm saying, some of the things are going to be very misleading. And especially, you know, this is social media. You can't take everything for face value. So it's unfair to be like, oh, Walter's not the owner, when if you watch some videos, you realize that he is not the owner. He acts like, the way he's selling that place. I understand why people can get, you know what I'm saying, come to that assumption. But if you watch a lot of videos, you realize that, yeah, man, this dude is not the owner. But hear about Keith Lee. Everybody's giving Keith Lee his flowers because Keith Lee didn't expose anything. What did Keith Lee expose? And here I'm gonna get on Keith Lee. Now, this is something I peeped out. I understand that Keith Lee be popping up at these places unannounced because he doesn't want special treatment. He doesn't want his food prepared a certain way. And I get it. I love that idea. That's why he's so popular. And, you know, he does his food review with that catatonic look on his face. But Keith Lee himself did not treat this famous barbecue place. He did not treat it like a normal place. Sure, he did his review or whatever, but he wanted to give Mr. Walter $4,000. Now, does he normally give what he assumes is the owner or the cook $4,000? No, he did something different. And that's where the problem came in. The confusion comes in because he goes there and then he says, I can't get through. The security is there. So this place, through the videos you see on social media, you assume this place is very accessible, heartwarming, organic. And Keith Lee's video made the place seem like it's ran like a machine, a factory. Kind of like, you know, Mondo Burger from Good Burger. That, yeah, there's a protocol there. It's, you know, you're not going to just go there and Keith Lee, you're not going to go there and Mr. Walter's just going to dance on your table like Bobby Shmurda when he got his record deal. But that's where the confusion comes in, because Keith Lee wanted to give him $4,000, which is something he normally doesn't do. And then they say, oh, I couldn't give him that. The security's there, and his bodyguards are there, and that's the problem. And everybody's all like, oh, well, Mr. Walter's not the owner, and the way he's shuffling and jiving with his feet. Yeah, if you watched a lot of videos, would kind of realize that. I picked up on that after watching 4 videos that he is not the owner of the place. There's even old videos where he's talking to the owner and says, you did it again. Yeah, it's right there on the channel. People, and now people are just coming up like they're exposing. What are you exposing? It's a barbecue place. They're trying to sell barbecue. Of course there's going to be smoke and mirrors. Of course they're going to be hyperbolic. That's how businesses are ran. You know, you thought that this was like some good old place and it's a black-owned business. And I can see how you could come to that conclusion. But watching a couple of videos, just like, yeah, it's not. You know what I mean? And they never really said Mr. Walter was the owner. But the owner did say Mr. Walter is a partner. And I read some comment of a guy who's been knowing that place for years, I assume, but this comment said that place started off as a coffee shop. But Mr. Walter was selling barbecue on the side, you know, of that place. I don't know if he had a food truck or whatever, just sold. Because I know there was a place here in Indianapolis called Judge's Barbecue. That was a barbecue place / smoothie bar. I kid you not. It sells barbecue and smoothie. It was a good place. It's not around anymore. So therefore, a coffee house and a barbecue house together, you know what I'm saying, wouldn't surprise me. And that's what he said. And he said eventually the owner decided to make this whole place a big barbecue, just all barbecue, and that Walter Lee was the original pit master of the place, and he taught the owner. So you know what I mean? That's what I read in the comments. I don't know. I don't know that place, but I think people are just being way too hard on that place, and people need to. It doesn't seem like Keith Lee, him wanting to give that for. I'm like, if you're going to give somebody $4,000, why are you saying it? I hate it when people, you know what I'm saying, want to broadcast their generosity like that. I want to give him $4,000, but I couldn't give him $4,000. And why would you even say that? If you're going to give it to him. If you can't give him the $4,000, you're unable to, then don't mention it at all, because that's what's causing that's causing problems. We all know that here on social media, people are fake. Food reviews are fake. These restaurants aren't as good as they say they are. I'm like, that's, you know what I mean? It comes with the territory. So I don't really think, but that's all I want to say. Thanks for watching. Never stop learning.